Whew. You guys get no clap today, man. No claps. Got a serious conversation. For those of you that have watched my Call of Duty video, where I was going over IGN's review selection. This is going to be a similar type of video. Today we're going to talk about the video game awards. We're going to be talking about, if I find their system to be flawed or corrupted. I think there's a lot of discussion here. For a long time we've been, kind of tossing around whether or not the video game awards should be taken seriously. And I believe if we're having a video game awards, it should definitely be took seriously. This should be a sacred event that the gaming industry in general takes seriously. One thing I want to do is let's go over nominations, how they're chosen. We're going to read from the website. Then let's go over, things that have happened that kind of make me very question. I'm going to be pulling up a lot of tweets this video. We're going to get the general pulse of the industry, not just like, Xbox people or PlayStation people in the industry, people that cover games, people that make games, people that create content on games. We're going to do the whole thing. What I found is kind of crazy. First off, let's get into how they're chosen. As you can see, this is the website for the Video Game Awards. And as you can see right here, this is how they're chosen. So let's bring this up. All right, so how are the nominees selected? Nominees are for most categories, which is interesting. They say most. Maybe they're just talking about, the specialized one they do for like esports and stuff. I don't know. But it's interesting they use the word most for that. By an international jury of over 100 media and influencer outlets selected for their history or critical video game evaluation. Specialized juries are a convoy for other categories, including esports, accessible, and best adaptation. Each voting outlet competes in a confidential, unranked ballot based on the collective and diverse opinions of its entire editorial staff, listing of its top 5 choices in each category. Ballots are tabulated, and then the 5 games that appear on the most ballots are put forth as nominees. In the event of a tie for more, it would be announced in a category. So they're pretty much saying that they'll give you a category or something like that. Game Awards producer Geoff Keighley is not a member of the jury and does not vote for the nominees or winners. Similar, the Video Game Awards advisors boards have no involvement in the award process and leans on the results of the time on the general public. Now, what he's talking about, the advisory board, now I did look at that. It's not really much to look into. The advisory board is just a bunch of people in the industry that choose the dictation and where the video game awards go. Phil Spencer's on there. They got people from Nintendo. I didn't see anyone from PlayStation. They probably do have the individual on there. I saw Doug Bowser. It's interesting Kojima's on that board. Just pointing that out there. I don't know. I'm not making any definite statements. All I'm saying is it's interesting you got behemoths like them, but then you look, Kojima's there. And I'm not saying anything bad on Kojima. I'm just saying, in terms of studios, there was one other studio on there. I think it was someone from Riot. But most of the people on that panel are CEOs, or they're very, very critical people in the industry. I guess you can consider yourself, maybe Kojima is in that thing, but I think when you look at that, besides the person at Riot, it just seems a little off. It just seems, like he doesn't belong there, not necessarily because of who he is in the industry, but it seems like everyone in that panel was a key point in the industry. Either AMD was on there, like I said, Nintendo. You guys digress. Like, this video is only to educate and give you guys my opinion on the matter, and you could take that however you will. I ain't really going too much into whether something's right or wrong. I don't know what's in Geoff Keighley's mind. All right, so why do you use this jury for select committees? Given the sheer number of games released each year, as well as the extension time required for full evaluation of products, a voting outlet approach allow for the widest possible critical assessment. A ballot submitted submitted to the Game Awards represents the collective opinion of the entire outlet. So pretty much what he's saying there is, if IGN puts something in, they represent all of IGN, whoever does the ballot, and it's a collective of the whole thing. How are winners selected? So, I mean, this is pretty mandatory here. Blend a vote between voting jury. So the people on this, in this jury, they're the ones that seem to be the people that get 90% of the vote. Got a fan voting for 10%. So fans that when we vote, we get 10%. One would make sense that if you feel like you're giving the power to people more, you give them like 30 at least. 30% still gonna, let our voice be heard, but it doesn't. 10% is wild. Maybe 75-25. To me, they're just throwing this 10% in there because at the end of the day, what's that gonna do? I don't know. You guys digress that. Why doesn't the fan get more influence when it comes to picking these? I don't know. So, you look down here, why don't fans select 100% of the winners? I understand that because I agree with that to a point. I believe that it would just be a popularity contest. Geoff's system isn't wrong entirely. I just feel like the way they handle it is wrong. And the biggest thing I want to point out here is, it's got over by 100 jury of global media and influencer outlets. Who are those people? Geoff. I saw a video, it was a while ago. It seemed like Geoff used to tell people who those were. Now, I don't know. I didn't go through. I don't really know a whole lot when it comes to, the websites in general. I know there's a website you can use to look at previous websites, and I don't know where that website is. I don't know how to use that website. I wasn't going over there and trying to find that. But apparently, he used to tell us those names back in the past. Even if he didn't, why not, Geoff? Why don't you tell us who is choosing these, who's voting on this process? I feel like this is such a vague explanation on the process. It feels weird to me, man. It does. I'm not going to lie to you. It feels like he tells you just enough to give you an idea of how this is ran, but he doesn't tell you anything on how the actual, process is done. Now, I'm sure some of you are in the chat, Addict. Why does it matter? Why does it matter that we don't know who these people are? There are 100 media and influencer outlets. It's not Geoff. Well, Geoff could pick people that really vibe with his opinion. Now, if he went out there and he picked people from, different backgrounds, then that would matter. But guess what? He doesn't give us that information. He doesn't even tell us how he picks these people. And I remember seeing him in spaces, people asking him this, and not necessarily he dodges the question, but he never really comes out fully and openly and telling, why not transparency with this, Geoff? Explain that to me. Why don't you tell people who are voting on these? It's only 100 names. It easily could be put on a website somewhere. I don't know. So now that we've established we don't know who these 100 people are, let's go over some stuff. When you don't know who 100 people are, you got to assume, just finding people that's going to do what they're supposed to. Just finding people that know what's going on in the industry. Let's go over some tweets. Apparently, the people he's picking don't even know when a coach hasn't even coached this year for Best Esports Coach of the Year. So the speciality thing is out the window. They don't even know what they're talking about. How do you mess that up, Geoff? How do you mess up that someone didn't even coach in the year that you nominated them for Best Esports of the Year? And they didn't even nominate in the year. It blows my mind. It blows my mind how you mess up that bad. Let me make this a little bit bigger for this one. All right, so let's go to another one. Now, if you look at this, you would say, at least Geoff is professional. Tell me how Geoff is on some console war stuff, man. The biggest potential snob in the gaming industry nomination list tomorrow would be this. Now, I understand this is a good engagement thing. But to me, this screams that you just want the ugly side of the internet. Especially use the word snub. Like, why are you even asking people this? Obviously, there's going to be games that get hit out of the Game of the Year contender, but to sit here and just deliberately shine a light on the biggest thing that's people going to upset people, what did you think is going to happen, Geoff? I think especially coming from someone in the industry, I know people will say, well, maybe it's the media list. I don't care. All right, Geoff has he can easily fix this. Like there's no way he didn't know that this wasn't going to get posted. If he didn't, then I guess he's just really bad at communication. Like, the communication needs to improve over the Video Game Awards. To me, that was unprofessional for someone in his shoes. Now, if it would have been someone like me, like a content creator, that's different. You know, even someone in the media, that's different. But someone in the industry is allowing a post like that. That's just very, very, not necessarily unprofessional, very bad taste in my mouth. All right, now, Josh Sawyer, he's a big person over there at Obsidian. You know, this is interesting. He says, I think it's funny that 2 years in a row, the video game lists a cutoff date for submissions and announces the nominees a week prior to that date. By coincidence, Pentiment shipped last year on November the 15th. So he's pretty much saying, yo, why you keep changing your date, Geoff? You know, he keeps saying, why you keep changing your date, Geoff? To me, he's saying, I understand what's going on, but at the same time, and this is just me like taking his opinions and saying my own words, me paraphrasing his thoughts. I feel like he's politely saying, yo, you keep changing the time that you submit. It seems like when you want certain games in your event. But if you don't want certain games, you just don't care. I remember Jedi Fallen Order didn't get in there one year. Like, it does feel like he's willing to change that date if it's convenient to him. And I'm gonna call it out, man. I'm gonna call it out. You know, I feel it. I do. But it's like at the same time, this ain't it. This ain't it, Geoff. Let's read this one. I said, we need a strict definition of the word indie or a new category because it's clear the games being chosen are based on vibes and pixel art. You can't really argue with that. Then you look over here, something like this, where, you know, people are saying, but Geoff, an indie game is a small project, not necessarily mean what, you know, funding them or what kind of talent's there. Greg Miller said, like, I respect your opinion because he was talking about, you know, what I just said. And I paraphrased again. He said, but this is such a crazy argument to me. So if Naughty Dog set aside 10 people team to make a pixel art 2D side scroller, we put them in this category. I think you got to change the name of the category in that case. He's pretty much saying, look, the best talent in the world works for these studios. You can't just go out there and say stuff like that because all that's really necessarily doing is just giving people more loopholes. I think, you know, what's crazy is if you look at the awards, there's an award for best indie of the year and best debut indie of the year. And to me, it's like, why do you need both? Because one would think best indie of the year and best debut indie of the year should be the same game. Maybe I'm tripping on that. I don't know. But if they came out the same year, they'd be debuting in the same year. And if they were debuting in that year, they would be the best indie in that year. It feels like it's just a way to give more games awards. And I'm all about that. But it's just like, it's crazy. It's crazy to me. It's crazy. Let's keep going. I know this is a long video, but we're gonna keep going. I don't care at this point. I don't. Because I think the way things are done is just crazy. Now let's look at this one. He says, because nobody who nominates games plays Sims or strategy games. So every year they just go, oh, God, Hope Paradox releases something. People ask, why are Sim strategy lumped together like this? Because they don't care. You know, to me, this is how things go to me. Geoff wants what's what I'm looking for? The most loved game style type of game in his game awards because more people will watch his show because people know that. So you're looking at PlayStation games because they have that template really down. You know, Red Dead Redemption, Rockstar. He wants the baddest there. And to me, you're screaming, copy everyone. You're screaming, don't be iterative. Like we saw a few years ago that Forza Horizon 2 or 3, I can't remember which one it was. It was like one of the only solid games that came out there. It was a very dry year, not necessarily in games that coming out, just high quality games. It was one of the few 90 plus games that came out the year that screamed game of the year, but it didn't get nominated for game of the year. There was no reason for it. And I didn't like Geoff's reasoning for not putting it in there because it just screams to me, look, it doesn't matter if you make racers, you can make the best racer in the world. You can make the best timed, the best turn-based game in the world besides Baldur's Gate 3. I think that's an outlier. That's not necessarily the rule. You know, you can make the best sim style game in the world. You know, City Skylines is a huge game, never going to get nominated for Game of the Year. We're never going to see a racer game get nominated for Game of the Year. Never going to see a sports game get nominated for Game of the Year. You can have some of literally the best games that's out that year, but if they don't follow a simple strategy or follow something that I personally feel like Geoff can market, I don't think he cares enough to even try to put them in there. And we don't know what these 100 people are even playing. Do they even play games to that degree? Are they having people that don't play these indie games review and vote on games that they've never even played? How many people has played Hi-Fi Rush of those 100 people or 100 outlets? Why won't he be transparent on who these people are? I feel like there's a reason for that. I feel like if he knows, people can designate who these 100 outlets, 100 individuals are, that you'll be able to easily investigate and see if they're biased or not. To a degree, everyone's not biased, but there is a point where you could be non-biased and still be biased and still get your point across. Like, I love Kingdom Hearts. I'm very biased towards the franchise, but I have enough integrity in me to tell you the real on that game. Even though I love the franchise, it was very underwhelming. There is a lot of people like that. Why can't we know them? Explain that to me, Geoff. Look, I get this video is going on almost 20 minutes long. I get what's going on. I do. I'm not going to sit here and act like I love what Geoff has done with the industry. I think Geoff has done a lot for gaming in general. But I think, especially with all these people, all these big high-end people, Josh, you know, David Jaffe put a nice little thing going there and look on his Twitter. People are upset. Gamers are upset. And this isn't even a Starfield thing. I know people will say, well, it's because I've said multiple times I can understand why Starfield wouldn't get nominated for Game of the Year. It would be on my 6, but I can understand why the industry wouldn't come together. Alan Wake felt like it came out on a Wednesday and they announced the nominations on like the following Monday. Is that just me? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But we're going to put in the comment section below what you guys think. Curious to hear this. This is probably the longest video I've made, like ever. Probably not ever, but I'm curious your guys' opinion in the comment section below. And until next time, this is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace. Man, that was a long video.